Hello everyone, today I'm going to be fixing some of the fuel hoses on the Mazda B2200. Discovered I had a leak and, well, that explained my shitty gas mileage. Anyway, some of the tools that you will need: floor jack of some sort, jack stands, the gas can. I have a breaker bar, socket, wrench, a bunch of sockets, not sure what size I need yet. I'm going to need a pair of pliers. I also have to remove the tire, so I got that thing, and a siphon pump to get the fuel out, as well as the replacement hoses. Standard rubber hoses in this case, not since the original parts are no longer made for my 1990 Mazda. So the first thing I want to do is remove the rear tire. So you'll see your gas cap portion and the connecting hoses, as well as somewhere in there, filthy as can be, is your gas tank. Okay, so now we have the rear right wheel off, and now you can start to see the gas tank. So we have 2 bolts in the back. There's also 2 in the front that you can't see right now. And also something that's going to be in your way if you're going to remove the entire tank, or if you're going to lower it enough, is your parking brake line that kind of goes that way. But when you're bringing down the tank, it gets in your way. Is I've added the jack with a piece of wood right under the fuel tank, so when I unscrew everything, it doesn't just come off and slam to the floor. If you are a super big person, you might want to have this car as high as it'll go, because there isn't much room to maneuver on here. This here is your fuel filter, which I've replaced before, and the line seemed alright, but that was over a year ago. Okay, let's give you a better view of what's happening here. So I got my jack with the wood block securing the tank once I remove all the screws. The tank is over there, still has all of its screws and stuff attached to it. And here is your spare tire, which will free up some room for you to work under the car if you take it off. So I'm going to come out here. You have a hole right above your license plate. And there is where you crank to bring down your tire, and you use your jack thing for it. Okay, so here comes down the spare tire. You crank your thing to the left once you have it in there, and it comes down. Now the spare tire is off, and I've cranked the holding thing back up. Now I have more room to maneuver in there. So as I've mentioned in other videos, whoever were the Mazda engineers did not think most of this stuff through in terms of ever having to access the stuff ever again. Okay, we have removed all 6 screws from the back, which took a whole lot longer than I wanted it to. Now we're going to try and make our way up there and remove the other 2. We're completely underneath the truck right now, and as you can see, I have 1 screw there and 1 screw over there, and all this stuff in the way until we go with the 14. It's a 14. Alright, both sets of screws and bolts are off from the fuel tank, and it's pretty much just been held up by my jack with the wood block. So what I'm going to do, since I do have to lower it to a certain degree, is go ahead and move the parking brake out of the way. So make sure the parking brake is released, and all I gotta do is unscrew it from, I think it was here, here, and I believe there was one other spot. You can unspring it from here too. Okay, so you can use your pliers. Here's the first one we did. Over here. The next one, if you keep following the line, is over here. Okay. I have removed as much of the parking brake lines out of the way as I could. And now, very slowly and gently, we're going to try and lower the tank a bit. Here we go. Now if you remember, your intake hose is still just kind of dangling over there, so try and push it in. So when you're pulling this thing down, it comes with it. So we're going to disconnect the line that goes from the tank to the fuel filter, which then goes through this hose and on towards the engine somehow. So this one is okay to stay unless it's busted and you try to replace it. Your intake, which you could remove before you finish lowering it, with the exception that any crap might fall into your fuel tank. And that line there is the one that's going towards the fuel filter. We're going to remove this part of the hose from the fuel filter, which means some fuel is going to spill down. So have some sort of catch basin available at the bottom. To take off the hose connecting to the fuel filter, you just need a pair of pliers to pinch this thing here and just pull it off. Alright, I'm going to put the fuel filter back in its housing. Ooh, that stinks. Because that's not going anywhere. And try to keep it so stuff doesn't spill. That right there is one of the wires, the electrical wire that goes to the fuel pump, and that one's going to have to be disconnected before we lower this thing anymore so it doesn't break. Alright, intake hose, which goes in there, is making it impossible to lower the tank with here. So we're going to go in there and unhook that one from there and unhook the top part from here. Show you when it's done. After much hustling and tussling with this thing, I finally got the fuel tank off. So here are the parts. We got the intake hose, which has, this is the part that connects from there to here, and it was practically impossible to take off. It kind of just came off on its own. This little one connects to here. This is the one that goes towards the fuel filter. There's three other hoses that were disconnected from the bottom of the truck. Alright, we are under the truck. The fuel tank is removed, and this is my broken line. If you follow it that way, it goes towards the fuel filter. Of course, fuel flow is that way. So it's got two little clamps, one here and one on this side, so I'm going to remove it. I am sure there's going to be some gas that's going to come out, but it should be alright. This also means there's going to be some air in your line when you're done. Having changed the gas tank before, I think it's fine. The car might have a few hiccups. I'm probably going to replace this one too, just because if I'm here now and I have enough, I might as well. But first things first, this one. Alright, since this is supposed to be over there, I'm trying not to break this part, or that little metal pipe. So with some work, I got my old hoses off. I'm sure these two at the bottom. This has been the problem child. It's got a nice little hole right here. So unbeknownst to me at the time, as I was driving around, it was just spewing gas, making the gas mileage really shitty. And then the other one. So I got two the same diameter and the same length. I didn't know what to buy when I went, but I knew the size of the of the fuel filter, so I asked them to get that, and then I measured it because I knew that those were the same diameter. So that's how I ended up with that. The middle one was the one that came here, and the other one came elsewhere onto the fuel tank itself. So the little short one is the one that goes from here to there. And we're going to just shove it in. And push it down. And then position the other side as well. All the way way in, there's a little knob. You can't see it on the metal part right here. And there's one on this side too, so you gotta just make the hose reach that. There we go. The hard part is going to be hooking up these things back on it. This is for the other pipe hose, and it didn't quite fit because this tube is thicker on the outside. Hopefully that means it'll last longer, but we're gonna try adding these ones back on anyway. If not, I have zip ties that we'll have to do. I think we should leave that as is. It'll rattle around, but it's in. I don't think it's gonna be going anywhere, but just in case. Alright, get the second hose. Oh, this one's thicker. Interesting. Okay, so we've attached our two hoses. They're not coming off. And now we're gonna go check out the gas tank one. This one is okay, but I have some extra tubing that's the same length, so I'm gonna go ahead and replace it. Okay, my extra hose is in place, along with the little clips that'll hold it in place. So we have all our new hoses to attach, the intake portion, and our cables. So the first thing I'm going to do is get our jack and put that piece of longwood, which I have over there, underneath the tank, which will be on top of the jack. That way the jack doesn't punch a hole through the thing. And I'm going to race a little bit and connect as many of the hoses as I can before continuing on, just to make life easier as we're riding up. I have the fuel tank balanced on the jack, and we're going to bring it up. Oops. And hope it stops moving. There we go. Where'd it click? Alright, so we got the electrical hooked up. The wonders of being small. Alright, this one is one of my new hose, goes right here. My problem is, I didn't bring the hookup. Bullshit. Alright, anyway, we'll stick it in and worry about that later. So this one goes right there. Shove it all the way in. Don't forget to put your little clamp. And one of these is coming from the back. So you got two. You got this one, you got this one. The one that comes from the back goes into the metal one. And the other one that's coming from the front goes into the plastic one. I am not left-handed. Alright, next up is the fuel filter. And you got everybody hooked up, so you have your rear line to fuel filter, which I replaced and it's now brand new. You have your little white thing right there is your electrical. Then this one back here, as I mentioned, is the one that goes from the back of the vehicle, and then the one here is the one that comes from the front of the vehicle. once your fuel tank is secured, make sure you go back and put the parking brake back the way it should. And now the next fun part, the intake hose.